Hey, what's up you guys, Stoutmeister here, and today we have the MrRandomXbox with us once again.
What?
Wonderful burp, buddy.
Thank you.
I'm weeping for humanity even more.
Oh no. No. The, is this true, Stout? Is this actually happening?
What you see in front of you is an article. An article that says, Connecticut town holds drive to collect and destroy violent video games. That is the very article that you are looking at right now.
Deja vu. Okay? Deja vu. Kind of reminds me of, well, just to use this little tidbit of information early, reminds me of Columbine when they were trying to blame that event on the video game Doom and Marilyn Manson. Remember that, Snout?
I remember that too, and I remember Marilyn Manson's interview with Michael Moore on Bowling for Columbine, and Marilyn Manson, as I said in my Sandy Hook video, made a very good point. You should listen to what these kind of people have to say so that you can try to help them, but no. We have our heads so far up our asses that we don't want to help anybody else with their problems until it's too late.
And then we react like this, like a bunch of idiots that can't even tell, they can't even use the most basic amount of reasoning. Like of sound reasoning. Apparently it's impossible.
Shepard, what do you think about this article right here, based on what the title says?
Unacceptable!
I'm going to be saying that a lot, apparently.
Thank you for your input and the awesome background music.
Even though your ending sucked.
Alright, let's share this article with the viewers out there, Random Xbox.
Gladly. May I start this time?
You may.
Wonderful. Connecticut town holds drive to collect and destroy violent video games. A small community about 30 miles from the site of the Newtown massacre is organizing a voluntary video game return program aimed at collecting violent video games from families and likely burning them. The Violent Video Games Return Program. Really, you couldn't have come up with some better name for that. Offers up gift certificates in exchange for violent games, music, and movies turned in during an event later this month. The collected items will then be broken and later incinerated by town employees.
There's something missing in there, by the way.
What?
How about violent books?
Oh no, but Stout, books are untouchable. I mean, it's not like, that there haven't been violent books. I mean, it's not like we've ever had a book that went into detail about horror and gore or anything like Stephen King, maybe.
Oh yeah, I guess they stopped after their whole thing with Catcher in the Rye. Now they're rinsing and repeating with different platforms of entertainment. They realized that they couldn't do it with books, so they're trying it with movies, music, and video games.
Because they are often considered to be invalid forms of entertainment. And in my opinion, that in and of itself is a contradiction. There's no such thing as an invalid form of entertainment. You might have something that is not your cup of tea, maybe, but to say that it's an invalid form of entertainment, you're a moron. But I'm just saying this. Why have people suddenly tried to start this game Gestapo? What's up with this? Do you understand, Stout?
It's pretty much a modern day witch hunt, pretty much. Fear campaigning and manipulation. People are running around like headless chickens after this whole thing at Sandy Hook happened, and then all of a sudden the NRA is saying that it's the violent video games' fault, and then we have Obama trying to get rid of guns. And they're just coming up with their own little solutions as to how we could prevent more events like this from happening, when the only way it'll actually happen is the mass extinction of the entire species.
I give up. Honestly, do you know what I would do? I would honestly go to this event, just walk up to where they are throwing the games away with a big duffel bag and just start putting them in the bag and saying, well, if you guys don't want them, I'll go and sell them. I mean, you're going to get rid of them anyway, so might as well make some good out of it, huh?
Oh, indeed.
I'm just saying, that's not a waste at all. That's not, it's not like they're saying basically that, oh, these people aren't responsible for their own actions. No, it's all this fault. It's all this form of media's fault. Sod off. You're full of crap.
The January 12th event is being organized by the Southington SOS, a collective of representatives of Southington, Connecticut. Community organizations that include the Chamber of Commerce, YMCA, Board of Education, Fire Department, town officials, United Way, and local clergy. The group was formed in the aftermath of 2005's Hurricane Katrina as a way for the community to quickly organize help in the wake of national and local tragedies. Why don't you focus on real tragedies like helping those that have been hit by hurricanes? Hell, Hurricane Sandy happened recently, and from what I hear, New York is recovering pretty well now, but they're still in need of help, from what I understand. But now you're focusing on violent entertainment.
That's what I was about to say. Why not focus on something that might actually help? Oh, and I love how it basically went over everything that could possibly be involved in this except what? The local townspeople. I just don't understand this. Now, I guess, the fact that it's a community organization might go without speaking, but still, sometimes these organizations are formed without any real support from the town. And I'm not against an organization like that. I'm against stupid use of resources. If this isn't a stupid use of resources, I don't know what is.
Purple pinkish text.
Oh, how pretty.
There are youngsters who appear to be consumed with violent video games. I'm not certain if that's a good thing. Well, I'm not certain if having football and hockey and wrestling and MMA is a good thing to have as real entertainment either now.
Oh, and those are actually real. People actually get hurt and not things simulated getting hurt. That's really nothing more than a bunch of lines of code. That's all it is.
Football players, hockey players, wrestlers, MMA fighters are some of the toughest people in the industry. They get hurt and in some cases killed for our entertainment. And I don't see any activists trying to ban those activities. And if they try to ban those activities, I'd be pissed. But why so much focus on the fucking platforms of entertainment like video games, movies, music, which its sole purpose is to entertain? They don't have anything else in mind. And I'm just waiting for an Illuminati conspiracy theorist to come and say, well, did you see this movie where they had the triangle and the eye inside? That means that this movie is Illuminati. They want to mind control you. Ooh.
I just don't understand this at all. You mad, April and Wayne? Do you think I should tell them that I recently bought the Doom 3 BFG edition, and it comes with a copy of Doom 1, 2, and 3, and all their DLCs and expansions? So now, I get to kill demons. Oh, by the way, you think they'd also be mad that there's actually part of the game where you get sent to hell? Like, you get all your weapons taken from you, and this guy, opens a portal and, throws you into hell, and you have to work your way out? Do you think they'd be mad?
I think they would be mad considering there's no cross logo.
Oh, there are upside down ones.
The idea for the return program came about a month after the deadly Sandy Hook Elementary shooting that left 28 dead, 20 of them children. Following the shooting, Southington School Superintendent Joe Urati, I believe that's how you say the last name, said that he was flooded with emails from concerned parents asking what could be done to help both the nearby Newtown community and their own. Well, banning guns and banning most of the platforms of entertainment isn't going to help any.
I have... Wait... So your first thought is not, well, let's, up our police force. Your first thought is not, let's go and look and see how we can improve the security of our schools. It's, burn burn the video games.
Oh, but wait, we can't have armed forces at elementary schools because that would place fear into the children's hearts. Well, we don't mean having security literally at every square inch of the school. We're saying that they should be at the key areas of the school so that there could be no possible way for these psychopaths to get into the school for the most part.
What actually a lot of people do, what a lot of people are suggesting, is letting military officers, not even really MPs, like military police, just soldiers, guard the doors, maybe with a pistol or something like that. Because I'm serious, like, you name me one little kid that's, like, afraid of an army man, of what they call an army man. I don't know about you, but when I was a little kid, I thought army men were cool, and I still do. But, like, seriously, do you know of any little kid that's going to see it, like a guy standing there, like, in a uniform, and just, like, absolutely wig out? I wouldn't have.
I haven't heard of anybody freaking out over the army men. At least not our army men, but I can understand if you're in China or North Korea. Well, then again, those are communist countries.
Yeah, the last time I heard about somebody freaking that out was when they started, like, throwing stuff on the soldiers that came back home after Vietnam, calling them, like, baby killers and stuff. That was just disgusting. The fact that they would do that. Not even necessarily the soldiers, because it's a bad situation to be in. I'm talking about the fact that people have such little respect for them. You mad, Dusty? Yes, I'm still mad at Cult of Dusty. I still dislike him. Anyway.
What happened in our community, very similar to communities across the world, is everyone wanted to do something for Newtown, he said. The SOS convened and we looked at how do we continue to pray and support Newtown and how do we do something perhaps meaningful for Newtown and our own community.
Stop right there. Like I said, you didn't even go through the ideas of maybe better school security or better security in our buildings, maybe looking through and doing, like, letting, like, asking people if they wanted to have their house looked over to make sure it was good and safe and could easily be secured. Maybe, like, advising people to try to install panic rooms or something. No, your first thought is burn the video games. What is this, the freaking 13th century? Burn the books, burn everything.
Burn anything that's not the Bible.
What is this? Oh my... You're insane. You do not need to have a position of power.
I'm having this voice in my head right now, dude.
Me too, actually.
Fusroda!
Fusroda? What? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
What is this doing here? Skyrim? Dragonborn? Dragonborn's talking to me? What are you telling me to do? Hey, you want me to tell the boards of Connecticut to what? You want them to drink from this goblet right here? Oh, but I can't possibly make him do that. It has the F word on there. I can't make him drink from that.
I highly suggest that you all take a sip of that wonderful mug.
Ears.
I get this little voice in the back of my head. I think one of the demons from Doom 3 might be whispering to me, and I think it's telling me to, like, go, like, sacrifice babies and open up a portal to hell. I think that's, yeah. I think I might go do that. Back in a minute. Well, as it turns out, that takes a lot longer than I thought. I don't have the patience. I ended up just killing a goat.
Well, at least it was a goat.
Stout? I think it worked.
What?
Oh god. I think it worked.
What's going on, man? You okay?
Yeah. Help. Help. It's looking at me. What? What are you telling? I don't speak English. Wait. You're telling me that you'll go away if I send all these games to Connecticut? But I don't want to. That's my only choice, huh? Alright, Stout. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to go mail these games to Connecticut. Be back in a little while.
I might have to mail Skyrim and Grand Theft Auto 4 too, so I'll meet you there.
Yep. At the heart of the violent video game return program, inspired by a similar program kicked off by a 12-year-old in Newtown, is the need for parents to have a real sound conversation with their children about video games. Of course, specifically video games, not just violence in general, and how, you can encourage your children to try to help them, clearly tell the difference between reality and fantasy. No. Specifically video games and the violent ones. Not the more important distinction of reality versus fantasy that about 99% of the population can distinguish.
I need to get another swig of this, man. This mug is, holding my drink very nicely.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. There are youngsters who appear to be consumed with violent video games, he said. I'm not certain if that's a good thing, but this encourages one courageous conversation with a parent and their child. Then it's a success. Sorry, if it encourages a conversation, then it's a success. We're suggesting that for parents who have a child or children who play violent video games to first of all view the games. We're asking parents to better understand what their child is doing, have a conversation about next steps. If parents are comfortable with their child's gaming habits, we're comfortable. No, you are not. If you were comfortable, you probably wouldn't have even considered this notion in the first place.
Just want to sound as as reasonable as possible, I'm assuming.
Well, sorry, they're not being reasonable. If parents ought, he said, then they can head to the local drive-in movie theater on January 12th to turn in those video games in exchange for a $25 gift voucher intended to be used for other forms of entertainment, like perhaps a local water park? Hint, hint, hint. The gift certificate will be donated by a member of the Greater Southington Chamber of Commerce as a token of appreciation for their action of responsible citizenship, according to a press release. While the return program calls out violent video games, violent movies and music will also be accepted. Wait, so you do realize that the way you said that, it really makes it sound like you're saying that parents not giving these is irresponsible.
Oh, but wait. Let's go back a little bit. If parents are comfortable with their child's gaming habits, we're comfortable.
Where's...
Contradiction!
Faith in humanity minus a million. Ding!
Pink text again. Game, movies, and music turned in will be snapped, placed in a dumpster, and later incinerated.
Okay, yeah, that's not a waste at all. That's not a waste of resources, that could probably be recycled.
Oh, not at all. And, doesn't burning cause pollution, and it could contaminate the air over time, and...
Oh, yes, very much so. In fact, you ever heard of the, You ever heard of the, event of acid rain?
Oh yeah, I remember the term very well.
Yeah. The pH of the rain gets so low that it's effectively acidic. It acidifies the soil and makes it uninhabitable. It kills bacteria, kills wildlife, kills plants. And then the ground is rendered unusable for quite some time. The group's action is not intended to be construed as a statement declaring that violent video games are the cause of shocking violence in Newtown on December 14th, according to a statement of the organization. Bull. 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 In fact, they even contradict themselves right in this next sentence. Rather, Southington SOS is saying that there is ample evidence that violent video games, along with violent media of all kinds, and including TV and movies portraying story after story showing a continuous stream of violence and killing has contributed to increasing aggressiveness, fear, anxiety, and is desensitizing our children to acts of violence, including bullying. You just contradicted yourself in one freaking paragraph.
And not to mention, they talked about Adam Lanza having Asperger's syndrome and other forms of mental illness, and they were making people with Asperger's look bad.
I'm offended. I'm offended by that. I'm not easily offended, but I am offended by that. I'd say, I love how they said this. We're not saying it was the cause, but we're saying it's the cause. And we're also going to say that there is ample evidence to support this, even though we can't use a single study that we've seen, and we can't use any papers that have been written because there haven't been any. They're trying to use evidence that doesn't exist. They're basically relying on the fact that most people are too lazy to go and look up to see if there have been a lot of studies. And most studies have shown that that claim is BS.
Killing has been around since the dawn of time. What are we going to blame killing on? Are we going to blame the gladiator fights for mass murders that happened around that era of time? Because gladiator fights were a form of entertainment.
And they were brutal. People died. Actual people died. Ain't like in TV and books and games where it's fake or acted, and 99.99% of the time is clearly fake.
They fought to the death.
I can't say 100% of the time because I'm pretty sure there do exist a few snuff films out there, but I don't even really consider those they're a big deal, but they're not a big deal at the same time because they're so few and far between, and they're very much illegal. So.
Oh, and bullying. Violent video games contribute to bullying. When I was in middle school, the only way we could stop bullying is learning how to fight and learning how to make friends with the right groups of people. Now, we are trying to pass laws that outlaw that sort of behavior because of suicides that are happening more and more within the last 5 years or so. It's not even real bullying that they're trying to go after. It's cyberbullying from a stranger.
It's name calling. It's name calling. Really? I got name called when I was freaking 5 years old. Do you know what I did? I walked it off. If a freaking 5-year-old can get over it, a freaking 16-year-old should be able to just as easily.
I've been name called, I've been in fights, and I've faced actual bullying situations where I've actually been attacked. I learned how to stand up for myself, I learned how to fight, I learned how to make friends with the right people, and now I am the person who I am today because of my experiences. I never attempted suicide or anything like that.
Same here. By the way, I'm a black belt. Do you know why, Stout?
Why?
Self-defense. Do you know why? It's because I was always raised around the idea of it's not another person's job to protect you, it's your job. You have to protect yourself. Because in the real world, people aren't going to do it for you. You need to learn how to do it now.
Nope, it's bullshit. It's the government's job.
Bull. We've seen how well that works. You get disarmed citizens and then your crime rate goes through the roof. Or you end up in a military state. And we've seen how well that works.
Social and political commentators, as well as elected officials, including the president, are attributing violent crime to many factors, including inadequate gun control laws, a culture of violence, and a recreational culture of violence.
Stout, you say something while I try to get my brain back in my skull, because I think it just jumped out because it didn't want to have to interpret this anymore. Excuse me.
John Myers, the local YMCA director, said the idea was to figure out how to put a safety net around our kids. and to provide an opportunity for kids and parents to have a conversation about violence. Mostly, he said, the reaction has been positive. Through Art Secondo, president of the Greater Southington Chamber of Commerce, said the not all of the reaction has been supportive. No shit.
How can someone be this stupid? How? Apparently he received a sarcastic sort of email asking if they could turn in BB guns. Oh, that's fun. While the image of burning creative works might be alarming to some, a rarity was clear that the destruction of those games wasn't the goal of the movement, just a possible outcome. Bull! That is a flat-out lie. You're just trying to cover your rear. You're just trying to cover your butt after you made a bad call. And you refuse to admit that you made a bad call. I don't trust that statement for a second.
BB guns look like real guns, therefore we should return them, along with airsoft guns.
Despite the fact that they're plastic. Anyway, actually, sort of reminds me of like when those two kids like robbed an elderly gentleman, and with BB guns. He thought they were real guns, but because like if you paint that orange tip, they can look like real guns, or at least if you're like adrenaline's going, and you may not notice that, and they can look like real guns. But I'm just saying, this is absolutely insane. Secondo, I can't pronounce it, points out that violence in video games isn't something Southington connected to the shooting. It is becoming a growing topic of debate because of the shooting. This was just another catalyst for it. And I'm getting sick of people using freaking tragedies to further their political and social agendas.
Once again, I'm going to be taking a sip from my mug.
This is ridiculous. You know what? Let me just name off some of the violent video games I have here, just to tick these people off. Halo 4, rated M for blood and violence. The Doom 3 BFG edition, rated M for blood and gore and intense violence. Call of Duty Black Ops 2, rated M for blood and gore, intense violence, strong language, suggestive themes, and use of drugs. Left 4 Dead 2, rated M for blood and gore, intense violence, and language. And Borderlands 2, rated M for blood and gore, intense violence, language, sexual themes, and use of alcohol. But guess what? Do you want to know something that all those games have in common, Stout? They're all freaking fake.
But I thought fake was equivalent to reality. I thought video games had a great impact on our kids, considering that they play these video games all the time, and the alarming rate of shootings and the connection with what they like to play on their spare time.
I know, dude. I mean, despite the fact that Borderlands 2 is cel-shaded and looks very cartoony, the fact that Dishonored has a very caricature-esque, watercolored style graphics, the fact that Doom 3 was made in 2004 and everything is polygonal, and, the fact that Black Ops is, it's a fairly realistic shooter, despite the fact that, one of the game modes in it is zombies. And Halo 4 is clearly the most realistic of them all, despite the fact that it even says it takes place in 2557, I believe. And, has aliens and weapons that shoot light. Once again, it's all 100% real, and it's clearly impossible to tell the distinction between this right here and this right here. Pew, pew, pew! Which one do you think was the real sound effect?
Whatever sounded more awesome. Whatever sounded more like a lightsaber, futuristic sound rather than the other sound.
Zoom. Zoom. Pew, pew, pew. Yep. You got it right, Stout. That's real. This right here, or me talking, 100% fake. But this right here, pew, 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 that's reality. That's reality. That's what guns really sound like. They don't sound like... They sound like... They sound like popping.
Purple pink text again. The group's action is not intended to be construed as statement declaring that violent video games were the cause of the shocking violence in Newtown on December 14th.
Bull. You know what? I'm just going to say this right now. Pretty much 99% of this is a straight up lie, and 10% of it is bad logic based on said lie.
The National Rifle Association partially blamed violent video games and other violent entertainment for the school shooting. A Democratic senator introduced legislation in Congress that would direct the National Academy of Sciences to study the impact of violent video games and other content on children. Even a group of gamers came together for a momentary online ceasefire in first-person shooters. The renewed interest in the impact of violent gaming on children comes just over a year after the United States Supreme Court confirmed video games' status as a protected medium under the First Amendment.
Wait a minute. You're saying it's a renewed interest? Oh yeah, because before that point, every day before that point, there was no interest in violent games. And the second that study went out, violent video game sales just skyrocketed, going from near 0% to 180 million%. Just like that.
Hell, Scream and I, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, made a video on violent video games and California's attempt to try to outlaw it in California. And that law didn't go through at all.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Back when I first subscribed to y'all. Actually, I think I first subbed to y'all when I saw the Westboro Baptist video.
Awesomeness.
Oh yeah, and didn't they protest the funerals for the Sandy Hook Elementary funerals?
Yeah, they were saying that it was because God wasn't in the schools at all, and they tolerated gays and all this other shit that they wanted to throw out. Brian Fisher also made a statement about how if God would have been placed in schools, then that shooting would have happened. A lot of Christian extremists were saying that.
Really? God in the school. Uh-huh.
God in school, God in country. God in country being the modern day Middle East and Dark Ages Europe. Try to picture those scenarios for just a minute here. And it's not so much God being put in place, but people using God in certain ways.
They're not thinking, apparently, because here's the thing. Just because they had God, if they had God in that school, just because of that wouldn't have stopped the non-Christian from going in there. Just because you have all Christians in a school is not going to stop that specific non-Christian. Not saying that non-Christians are crazy. I'm talking about the actual person. I don't remember his name. I don't remember what his name was that actually shot up the school. I don't remember. But that wouldn't have stopped him from doing anything. He was mentally unstable. He should have been in a mental institution. Oh, but wait. Mental hospitals are astonishingly underfunded. I mean, it ain't like that people have mental health problems too. No, it's all physical.
That protection, David McGuire, staff attorney for the American Civil Liberties Union of Connecticut, works both ways. The U.S. Supreme Court has clearly stated that video games are, like books, plays, and movies, forms of expression protected by the First Amendment, McGuire told Polygon. That means children and their parents are free to choose whether to buy, keep, or discard them. Exactly.
But there is a difference between giving someone the choice and holding a freaking town rally. There is a difference between saying, look, you know what, we just advise that if you're not comfortable with these, maybe you should go and trade them in at your local store and let someone else who is capable of handling the fiction better. Or, you know, it's, no. It's, no, don't do that. Don't make a logical choice. Come here and burn them out like a bunch of psychos.
SOS held a press conference this morning to get the word out on the Violent Video Games Return Program. Irati said that he plans to explain the program to the district school administrators later this week and write about it on his official blog. School principals will encourage students to have a conversation with their parents, he said. And parents were notified about the program and the idea for this community conversation via the school's email and phone tree. You should be encouraging your kids to talk to their parents in general, and parents shouldn't be only intervening with their children's lives when tragedies like this happen. Parents should be monitoring what their kids do as much as they possibly can while giving them some privacy. And if they see anything wrong with their child, rather than blame an object, get them a psych evaluation. I believe you need a psych evaluation to get a weapon. If you are mentally ill, if you're not well in the head, you should not be eligible to have any weapon whatsoever. That is the only form of strong gun control that I can really support.
People have always been like that. They can't take responsibility for their own actions. And that's that has been the cause of more problems in this world than just about anything else. People not taking responsibility. Think about how many wars have been started, how many fights, how many basic everything from major confrontations, major battles and wars, all the way down to, quote, the most basic of domestic fights. A domestic argument. A husband and wife just having a disagreement. Think about how much just not taking responsibility, how much suffering has this caused. It's insane. I'm honestly just about give out on this. It's mentally draining, really. I'm gonna go kill demons in Doom 3 or Call of Duty or something. Either way, I'm gonna be killing things. You mad? And that's not really even strong gun control. You can ask anybody in my family. Everybody in my family is pro-gun. And they will say, you know what? Citizens don't need to own fully automatic assault rifles. I have no need for one. Stout, more than likely, you don't have any need for one. I'm perfectly fine with a rifle, a shotgun, or a pistol. I'm perfectly fine.
I'd be perfectly fine with those weapons too, and if I wanted to get an assault rifle, then I would get the proper training for it. And of course, I would prefer to be under psych evaluation before being approved for one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to, if someone was like, fine, you can own this weapon, but you're going to have to go through a rigorous psych evaluation, and you're going to have to prove that you know how to handle this weapon absolutely to the T proper, I would say, fine, that's fair.
Thank the liberal media for that.
I just don't understand. Like, it's the fact, though, one of my biggest problems is the fact that people don't know how to take responsibility for their own actions anymore. They have to have something to blame. They need a scapegoat. Take responsibility. That's one of the best things that you could ever instill in your children and talk to your children about. Teach them to take responsibility for their own actions. Seriously, if I did something stupid and blamed a video game, do you know what my mom would do? She wouldn't say, oh, well, I guess it's the video game's fault. She'd say, no, you're 17, you're going to take responsibility for your own actions. That's what you've been taught to do your whole life. That's what you're going to continue to do. Now take your punishment like a man. That's what I call a good parent. Would you agree?
I agree 100%, dude. Irati, the father of 2 grown children, said he didn't believe he had the expertise to discuss whether violent video games played a role in the shooting when asked. I don't have the expertise to share an opinion on that, he said. there is never anything wrong with parents having a courageous conversation with their children. And when you're stepping into the domain of your child, it's always a courageous conversation. You are admitting that you don't have an expertise to state your opinion about whether...
You just admitted that your whole opinion you just admitted that this whole idea is based off an opinion that you say you don't have the expertise to have. You have admitted so many times in this that you are wrong, and you have contradicted yourself so much. You are insane.
How can people take people like this seriously?
My question is this: why was this idea not just shot down immediately? Why was this idea not just said, "Are you nuts? No, we're not doing that. That doesn't make any sense." But no, people run with it because people are sheep.
No, it's because 20 children were shot, whereas there are countries, like the countries in the Middle East, where children are trained to kill and to commit suicide and take others with them on a daily basis.
And what do we say about that? Nothing.
We don't say anything about the deaths of millions, but we always say something about the deaths of 1 to 20 people, pretty much.
And that's not to say that the death of 20 people is not a tragedy, because it is. It's a bad thing. It's terrible. But as much as I hate the man, that is one of the most astute quotes I've ever heard in my life. 1 death is a tragedy, 1 million is a statistic. From Joseph Stalin. He was a despicable human being, but you have to admit that that is an incredibly astute quote.
Men like him were genius enough to have a mass following, so you gotta think, that's an awesome quote that he made, although his actions may have not been so great.
Although it's sort of like saying, Hitler was a terrible person, but you have to admit he was great. He was a great public speaker. You have to admit that. And that's what got him so much support.
Anybody with a good look, and anybody that is well-spoken, you can manipulate anybody. It doesn't have to take anything else but those 2 things, pretty much.
Uh-huh. If you've got the looks and you've got the charm, it doesn't matter if what you're saying is absolutely horrible. People will follow you.
Oh, do you want to look at the 12-year-old article really quick?
Sure, why not?
Alright, as we were talking about with the 12-year-old boy that was in the previous article, he has his own little movement where he's talking to parents about violent video games. And the title of that article is Newtown Boy Starts Played Out, Asks Kids to Toss Violent Video Games. I'm keeping my Skyrim with me. I love my Skyrim.
I think I'll be keeping Black Ops 2. Oh, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that there's actually a person who likes the Black Ops series? How dare you like Call of Duty? Well, here's the way I see it. Play what you want and don't play what you don't want.
Exactly. A 12-year-old boy from Newtown, Connecticut is asking kids to join him in tossing out their violent video games in a movement called Played Out, the Hartford Courant reports.
And it's a shame that this whole ideology hasn't been played out. Get it? Ha!
Oh, and this sounds awfully familiar. Who comes into mind with a young kid starting a movement, something similar to this?
If you want to play with us, I don't want to hear you cuss. If you want to hang with us, I don't want to hear you cuss.
Oh, McGay Hatch, I remember now.
Who says I want to hang with you in the first place? Maybe I don't want to. Maybe I don't look up to you. Anyway.
Max Goldstein, pictured above, announced his idea on Wednesday at the local public library. According to the Courant, Goldstein came up with the idea after attending a funeral for one of the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting, Daniel Barden, 7, a friend's brother. While listening to prayers and songs, Goldstein realized how real this was. He didn't want to kill in games again.
I'm sorry, but I don't know of a single 12-year-old that is that, well, astute.
It's not the 12-year-old boy that is that astute. No, he's being encouraged by either a parental figure or some other adult figure in his life.
I know that there are smart 12-year-olds out there. I'm sorry, I find it impossible to believe that this is 100% his idea and not an encouragement of his idea, like, you know, or like someone encouraging him to pursue this path. No, I guarantee you it's one of his parents or some adult.
He probably heard something at youth one day about the Sandy Hook shooting, and they made a connection with Mass Effect and Dynasty Warriors, and somehow he felt that it was real. So I can't really put all the blame on the 12-year-old boy, considering that he's still young and he's still learning about life.
He's impressionable. It's not his fault. Like, if that's the case now, it really could be his idea, in which case, kid, while I know your heart's in the right place, this is not the way to go about it. In the future, think about the best motion and not just the knee-jerk reaction that everyone else is having. And that's honest advice. I'm not going to be mean to the kid, and I'm not going to say bad things about him because he's only 12.
Wait until he hits high school, and if he's still making movements like this.
Different story in that case, but...
A bin will be placed outside the Newtown Youth Academy's Sports Center for people to toss their violent video games. Following the shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary, violent video games have come under fire. The National Rifle Association recently blamed violent video games for the tragedy, blah, 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 blah. We already know about the strong gun law thing that they're trying to pass. And speaking of which, why is Obama crying over the death of 20 children, yet I didn't hear about him crying over the deaths of children during Hurricane Sandy or any other deaths that involved children?
And he hasn't cried for the over 50 million children who've been aborted.
What about the children that are being trained for Al-Qaeda and terrorist groups? What about children that are put in sex trafficking scoundrels?
Now, here's the thing. That makes me angry whenever I hear about it, but I also kind of understand, because it reminds me of something Buckley, you know, Adosa Buckley. Something he said was, some people consider it despicable that we're not upset by every bad thing that happens in the world. And other people like him say, it's our job to protect our own. That's why we're mad. That's why we're angrier when something happens over here in the U.S. than when something happens over in another country, and vice versa, and why they're angry that it happened there and not something that happened over here, which I agree with. The only people who I can say, besides the actual victims and their families, who really should have been incredibly upset. Now, I can understand if everyone's like, that's sad. But I can't sit here and mourn. I have to, you know, move on with my life. Would be parents. Like, for example, my older brother, his wife already had 2 children when they married, but now they have, I believe, a 7th or 8-month-old infant. He's my nephew, obviously. When he heard about that, he was furious. But I can understand that. What about you?
I can understand, definitely.
Back on subject, sorry. The NRA blaming video games is one of the things that really got this. It was a good catalyst for this. And other people believe that strong gun laws are the solution, which, without trying for shameless self-promotion, I honestly just happened. I did not know that Stout was going to be sending me this link today. I actually did a video about that, about the strict gun laws earlier today.
And speaking of shoutouts, I gotta thank Jawin Rub for sending me that article, and he also sent me a video of the article as well, and I'm going to be linking those 2 things in the description down below. And TheMrRandomXbox did a phenomenal job displaying his views in the video, so I'm going to be linking that as well. Yeah, I talked about the scapegoat masquerade in my last video about Sandy Hook, and I didn't think that I'd be doing another video on Connecticut for quite some time, but I had to see this article, and I'm glad I did, because just I can't describe any more about how ridiculous this is. It's just a repeat of history. It's the modern day witch hunt. It's the modern day Salem witch trials. The modern day Beatles. The modern day Judas Priest. When they were burning Judas Priest records because they thought that it got these metalhead teenagers to commit suicide. And that case was dismissed.
I'm just saying, I'm getting sick of the scapegoats. I'm getting absolutely tired of all this, of this blame game, and it just drives me nuts. It makes me sick. It really does.
It is mentally draining, which is why I'm gonna stop the video right here, recuperate, listen to some music, write some songs on the guitar, and you can do your own thing as well. After my little routine, I'm gonna play some Skyrim, and I'm gonna be killing some dragons, and I'm gonna be killing some animals. So I'm gonna be making both Connecticut Towns Group people, and I'm gonna be making PETA mad. So, you mad, guys? Stay tuned for more videos. Take care. See you later. And epic outro music commencing now.